Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mahai Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with a Thursday edition of our board gaming podcast.
Yeah.
Probably Thursday. Yeah.
Questionably Thursdays.
Sponsored by Gray Fox Games, our sponsors. So lately, in the COVID world of remote recordings, we have made the transition to where we start our shows by talking about what games we've played to focus on the board games early so that people who join for board games get board games out of the way before they're sucked into the hole of inane banter that happens later. And so this week, we have all played some kind of something that could be described as a board game, which is awesome. Hasn't happened that way in a while.
I believe Adrian is stretching.
I am stretching. Did you guys play the same games, or do you have any unique games between the two of you?
He has a unique game. I guess
All right,
technically two unique games.
Correct.
All right, so Jeff, how about you start with the unique games, then I'll do my stretch of a game, and then we'll kick it over to Zach to bring us home with you guys' like joint game session.
Okay.
All right, so go for it. Unique games, go, Jeff.
I played Ticket to Ride Europe with two friends that had never played before.
Had you played it before?
Yes.
Okay.
I had purchased them Catan and Ticket to Ride Europe because they were sort of indie board games, but not a lot of indie board games. My friend has like the Blade Runner 2049 game. I don't know how to describe you.
Sure. Think
game. Yeah, it's kind of like social deduction, kind of like guessing just what color is not there. I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride Europe is way better than Ticket to Ride. It is a great entry-level game. We played a full game, and I lost horribly. I wasn't getting the cards I needed for the routes. So, like, Ticket to Ride Europe adds the ferries, which are gray routes, but you need at least one wild or two wilds to be able to build them, along with the rest of the same color cards, like any gray route in Ticket to Ride. And I wasn't getting any of the wilds, and I needed, like, 3 ferries to build to get to my route all the way in, like, the southeast of the map, like in Turkey. Only got boned by tunnels once. Like, tunnels make you, once you pay for it, you draw 3 cards, and any that match, you have to pay that many more. And thankfully the stations saved my butt, because other people were finally built the, like, ferry I needed, and you can, of course, at the very end of the game, when you do tickets, use a station to be, one line of an opponent's rail system. But I probably should have taken some more tickets to figure out another set of routes. And I had done that later in the game, but they all kind of didn't go anywhere I was going. And so I discarded all but one. But, like, I had built all my routes. I had, like, my 6 destination tickets. And then just was a distant third.
that sucks.
Yeah, like, there's one route in the very north that's like an 8-length tunnel. And it's worth 21 points, which is some of the higher... Well, it's the longest route you can make, and I think there's only one of them even on the Europe board, period. But that definitely boosted him significantly, because even your, like, start of the game, like, destination tickets, those are like 21 to 30, so just building that was basically a whole bonus one of those. And yeah, so distant third. I just didn't use enough trains in a long enough routes, because all my routes needed, like, little 2s and 3s and 4s, and no like big, like, 6s that get you, like, the most points. But yeah, it was a big hit. They enjoyed it.
Cool.
We decided not to play Catan because it was going to take too long, especially on a, like, first game teaching game with 2 people that had never played it before.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like Catan doesn't usually take that long.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since I've taught it, so...
Yeah. But Ticket to Ride, still a pretty good entry-level game.
Okay. I know I've played Europe once a long, long time ago. I don't remember it being, like, substantially superior to regular Ticket to Ride. I did like having the little bit added complexity from some of the things like the ferries and the tunnels and whatnot. And then the stations are nice at the end of the game.
Yeah, but regular Ticket to Ride is just that without those, which makes it very basic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, I would say congrats on teaching new players a new game, which I guess is still congrats on teaching new players a new game. Sorry that you got dead third.
Oh, yeah.
That seems to happen a lot of time with people teaching games, unless it's like Food Chain or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll borrow a copy of Food Chain and teach them next time. And then we'll probably all be on vaguely similar skill levels.
Seems right.
All right, then I guess it's my turn. My turn to stretch the definition of board game by saying that Megan and I played more D&D. So still no actual board games. But we did our second session of, well, technically third session of Rime of the Frost Maiden. But the second session in this new, because we started over. This was supposed to be a relatively short session. Basically, she had a quest where she was going to go out and find a cart full of iron that some dwarves had to leave behind when they were attacked by a yeti. And so she was all like nervous about like, oh man, I don't know if I can fight a yeti. And then went out there, and then the best part of it is that there was no yeti. Like, there was a yeti that attacked them, but then the yeti ate one of them and left. And then some goblins found the sled full of iron, and so she had to fight a bunch of goblins. And I thought it was going to be like a really quick little battle because her and her like sidekick character are third level. The sidekick's a monk, so he can like kill 3 goblins in a turn if he spends a key point and rolls well. So I thought they'd roll through a bunch of goblins, especially because like the goblins were supposed to be like not very aggressive, and like if you kill a few of them, the rest just run away, and they're like, oh shit, you can have it, it's yours. And then she proceeded to roll hot fucking garbage for the next 2 hours. Like, I legit thought she was going to die because her characters just kept not hitting anything. I gave her like the book suggests for a part of this encounter that the goblins are so focused on pushing the cart that they don't notice the enemies no matter what, like no stealth needed. It's like in the middle of this tundra and there's wind and snow, and so they don't notice you. They're focused on pushing this heavy ass cart or sled. So, like you get a surprise round. So she pulled out her crossbow to do a surprise attack and rolled a 1. And so I was like, all right, well, that was like a critical miss. So like you accidentally fired it like way the shit off into the distance. They never saw it. They don't know you're there still. You get another surprise attack. She rolled another 1. And so I'm all right, same thing. Yeah. Like, you're having a real hard time with this crossbow in the snow. So one more time.
But you can tell, she can tell somehow that she hit the bolts that she previously, like she was dead on. Yeah. Way the fuck off somewhere else.
Yes. And that's for her third surprise attack. She rolled like a 13, and their defense was a 14. Their AC. So she was 1 under what she needed to hit. Or no, she didn't use her crossbow. She was like, all right, well, fuck the crossbow. I'm gonna like use a spell slot and cast a spell. And she rolled 1 under what she needed to hit them with the spell. So I had that one like explode right over their shoulders. I was like, I gave you 3 fucking chances. I don't know what to do.
This is on you now, Megan.
Yeah.
This is all you. This is because of you. You're
like,
making me do this.
At one point, like an hour into it, I gave her a different set of dice. She has 3 sets of dice. She has 2 of her own, and then a loner set that came with like a Rime of the Frost Maiden kit that I bought. And so I was letting her use those, so she'd have 3 full sets of dice. And she tried like switching up in all those and kept rolling garbage. I was like, here, take my super special metal dice that I don't let anyone use and roll those. Like, try those. And she was like, no, I'm determined to use my own dice. And just kept missing and missing and missing and missing. And it's a good thing that the goblins just like, they hit them fairly regularly. Both her and her sidekick have pretty high defense. So the goblins missed a lot, but not like rolling 1s. And when they did hit, they tended to roll really bad damage, so they were able to survive. And so what was supposed to be like a quick little 1 hour, like go out, fight some goblins, come back to town with some goods, because I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare. Because last weekend, like I normally kind of do prep on the weekends, and last weekend I worked like back-to-back 15-hour shifts. It fucking sucked. That will come up later in the show when I explain something else that happened. But yeah, I thought it'd be a real quick little short session, and it ended up being like a 2.5-hour session. It was like, Jesus Christ. Why can't you hit anything, Megan?
So at the end, the goblins just give up, and they're like, we're bored, we're going home.
No, she finally did like kill enough of them. Well, so they killed enough of the little ones that at the main thing, because the goblins were pushing the sled towards like this big cart of theirs where there was like their leader, who was a goblin boss that had twice the health of any of the other goblins and shit. And when they got close enough to that, that goblin like came up on the roof and was like yelling instructions and stuff. And Megan busted out. She finally was so pissed about missing, she burned her only second level spell slot, I think, or maybe it was just her last spell slot. I don't know. But she cast Heat Metal, which is one of the abilities that she has on that goblin, because that goblin was the first goblin that was actually wearing metal armor. And so she cast Heat Metal on its armor and cooked it alive in its armor in 2 turns. And so that made her, at least let her like end on a high note, that she cooked their leader alive in its armor in 2 turns.
Well then.
And that's what I expected to have. Like, I expected that kind of dominating of the goblins to occur all the way throughout, but no, apparently not. I also made a lot of jokes of her little, like, because it was out in the middle of the tundra, all this snow, so like I made the entire thing difficult terrain for everybody. And so her poor little dwarf, who already has reduced movement speed, was like moving 2 squares a turn. So we were just making jokes about the dwarf like trying to plow through the big drifts of snow and just sinking in it every time, while the goblins and the monks skittered around on top of the snow. But it was good times. So we left off. We didn't even let her get back to town. Like, once the battle was over, it was like, all right, we're just gonna stop tonight, and we'll pick up from there next time. So. We'll be playing again probably on Christmas Day, I think is the plan, because she works Wednesday and Thursday, so I'm going to use those while she's at work. I'm going to do some serious prep and really get some things cooking in that campaign. I got some major ideas for where I want things to go. So that's what I played. It's a bit of a stretch, but whatever. I still love D&D, and it for me, it hits all the same things that I like out of board games. I get the same thing out of D&D. So yeah, that's what I played. Zach, what did you and Jeff play together?
So on Sunday, we ended up going over to Paul's. We were thinking of trying to do Kingdom Death, but Eric couldn't come, and then Thursby had to bail. And so we were like, oh, let's do some Arkham or Forbidden Waters or something like that. So went over to Paul's new place, and we decided to play Arkham. And it was a classic Paul move of, normally, like when we were playing a new game or something like that, a lot of times we have to actually like punch out the game or, basically build the game.
Almost every single time.
Yeah. Well, it was my game, so we didn't have to worry about that, right?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
No. So instead, we built the table that we played on. So.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, we had to help him move and unpack from the new house that he has moved into.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily, it didn't take too long.
No.
So we had to build a table and 4 chairs. And then.
Well, we had to take the legs off of one table, take it downstairs, and put the legs back on.
That's true. And then we only had to put the covers on for the chairs, and then tighten the legs because they're IKEA.
Which was maintenance that was needed.
Yes. Yeah.
Still completely ridiculous.
Yeah. Paul called them questionable quality, but there was no question on the quality.
No. The quality was bad.
Yeah. But we did that, and so then we decided to bust out Arkham. So with the Under the Waves expansion, there were still 2 scenarios I hadn't played yet. And so we decided to bust out one of those. We did Dreams of Relay.
Yeah.
No matter how we say it, we're not insane, so we're going to be saying it wrong. So
it's like R''LYEH.
Yeah. Relay, right? Yeah. Anyway, so we tried that one. So this is a Cthulhu themed one. And it honestly, it went pretty well. You start off with only 4 of the neighborhoods out. Normally it's between 5 and 6, and so when you pull this out, it's like only 4, and you're like, oh, and this is going to be a more intimate setting of of destruction. But it has you put off the new tiles you get with this expansion off to the side along with their cards, because you're trying to. There's a cult, because there's always a cult, and you're trying to figure out what they're doing and how to stop them. And I have to say, this one has probably had one of the most amount of variability in an Arkham Horror expansion that I've seen or a Arkham Horror scenario that I've seen right now, because when you set up the deck, you have what are those cards called again? Like the investigation, the
I
Codex?
can't remember.
The Codex cards. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So the Codex cards, on one of them, I think it was like number 106, you take 4 cards, you shuffle them underneath, or you shuffle them and you place it underneath that, and it becomes like an investigation deck. And then as you are, playing out the game, and it has you investigate to find out where they are, and so you pull cards from that deck to determine where they aren't. And then after there's only 1 card left, that determines like what you're actually trying to do. And it's so once you do that, so that's 4 different ways that it can go. And then after that, you try and you basically, once you discover, sort of where they are, and then you can discover what they're doing, and then you can figure out how to actually stop them. And the ways that you can stop them are dependent on which route you go, but they're pretty different. It's not like, oh, you just have to investigate here versus investigate there. It's about you have to go set up a bomb, or you have to go kill an epic monster, or you have to just call for help and shit like that.
Ring up the FBI.
Yeah, just call the feds. Just call the feds, and you do it and you win.
Which was a thing in the 2nd edition.
Yes.
Which I think this expansion added Kingsport and Innsmouth. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And I think the Kingsport expansion had the feds in it.
Nice. Okay, gotcha. But the one that we had to do was we had to basically construct a bomb, put it on a shrine, and then blow it up. But it was hard to do anything on this one because I don't know if this is the most amount of Doom I've ever seen on one of our games of this. But if it was not, then it was damn close, because there was a ton of spaces that had 2 to 3 Doom on them. And this had an outbreak, so if a space on a neighborhood gets 4 Doom on it, then you spread 1 Doom to each one of them, each one of the neighboring spaces, and then you take one of the tokens and you place it on the scenario sheet. And then it can chain, just like in Pandemic. And so multiple times we had a gate burst happen on a space that was 3-2-2, and so that caused the 3 to go to a 4, and it caused the other ones to go from a 3 to a 4 as well. And so there are a lot of times we were doing well, and then we had one thing fuck up, and then it's like, oh shit, now we've
quadruple
gone
the amount of Doom we had
on the scenario sheet, which is always which is the timer for the game. And so it was
Yeah.
it was rough. We still enjoyed it. We actually everybody had decent lore. It just didn't. I don't even know. We just got unlucky with the certain places where the Doom came out. Jeff kept bouncing back between he started off being blessed, and then he got unblessed, and then he got cursed, and then he got uncursed, and then he got blessed again.
Yep.
He just kept bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, and I lost my blessing on a monster engagement that was test influence -1, and so that was giving me 1 die, and it was and you failed, your blessing's gone because you failed a test, which was an unavoidable test. Which always
hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great.
I feel this scenario also was a reason for that they made this scenario to use the amount of Doom tokens they have in this game.
Seriously, yeah.
Because there was a lot of Doom.
Okay.
I feel like so we played with 3 players. I think having an extra player, even though you pull more tokens from the bag, having an extra player to help with Doom would have made a big difference, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and the specific scenario we had, it would have actually, the more players you have, would have made it easier at the very end. Because it had an interesting bag draw mechanic to where we needed to draw the Reckoning out. Like, once we hit the certain Codex card, we then had to put everything back in the Mythos bag and draw until we draw the Reckoning. And if we had more people, that would have happened faster during that end of turn Mythos phase. So instead of having, 6 pulls, we would have had 8 or 10.
And by 6 you mean 7, of course, because of the monster.
The monster that also makes you pull 1 at the start of the monster phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but overall, I thought it went pretty well. Paul's character, he was the orphan, and he kept getting spells. He became friendly with an assassin.
A syndicate assassin.
A syndicate assassin. Sorry, yeah.
That he was going to give to me.
That he was going to give to you, but just never had the chance because we kept having it.
Well, he didn't even last, I don't think, the next turn.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at the end, we got enough investigation or clue tokens to be able to send up to... Because you had to spend 2 clue tokens from the scenario sheet in order to basically construct the bomb. But we failed right after that happened, because we had 4 places that had 3 Doom, and if any of them popped, then we would have lost. But just for shits and giggles, we tried to see... by pulling it from the, we tried to see what happened if we set up the bomb, how long it would have taken us to actually find the Reckoning. And this one let us put in more blanks into the bag.
Yeah, it only started with 1 blank.
Yeah, but as you did certain things, and basically as you were investigating and you were finding, places where they weren't, you get to put more blanks in the bag, which was definitely nice. Because normally they're always like, all right, we'll just go put an extra Doom and a Gate Burst in there. Have fun with that. So it was nice to be able to put good things in there. But so we constructed the bomb. There we go. We constructed the bomb, and then we had Jeff start pulling from the bag to be like, let's see how long it'll take for us to do it. And when you know it, there are 14 tokens in that bag. Guess which numbered token was the Reckoning one?
The Reckoning, that's the bad one, so I'm going to say 2.
It was number 14. That was the one that we were looking for.
Yes.
It was the last one.
Okay, then I was going to say 13.
No, but he pulled it. It was the last token that he pulled from the bag, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, which would have only been 2 turns because we were pulling 7.
Yeah.
But we weren't going to make it 2 more fucking turns.
No, we weren't. and this one did have a cool thing, too, where if at least on this one scenario that we did, there was a chance that when you got enough Doom onto the scenario sheet, you could choose somebody to basically try and stop you from losing. And you had to spend a focus token and then roll and then get a certain amount of successes, which Paul was the only one with tokens, and he was the worst person to roll for it, and so he failed.
Classic Paul.
Yeah, but even if he did, it would have removed one of the Doom tokens, and then you basically go back to see if you lose. But we had put 12 on there because the last thing that popped was a Gate Burst or something that caused 3 things to spread. So theoretically, if we were, sort of interpreting the card, it would have been like, okay, well, you spend a focus token and you have to get 1 success, and then you have to spend another focus token and then get 2 successes, and then another one and get 3 successes. And if he had been able to do all of that, then maybe we could have continued on. But then we would have lost on probably the next bag pull. But yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go great at the end there.
Nope, but it was definitely an enjoyable one. And I want to play it again, especially to see some of the other routes that we would go.
Yeah, it seemed like there was 4 or 5?
There was 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And each of them seemed fairly different.
I want to say the Terror one had some variability like that in it, too.
The Terror one did. I know from the previous expansion, the Gang War one did, because you could choose one side, another side, or try and fight both of them. So it's good to see them adding more, just different avenues to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we played.
Right on. Well, that covers what we've been playing, which lets us move on into some banter. Banter things. And I just got a notification, like right as banter started, that Kanban is shipping. It shipped today. Or actually, I think that said the 16th.
Is that Kanban EV?
That is correct. Yeah, it was shipped via UPS ground on the 16th. So maybe it'll show up like soon.
Probably not.
Wednesday, December 23rd is the estimated delivery. Current location, Franklin Park, Illinois. Cool.
I saw the Broncos lose horribly.
Good God Almighty! I posted in the Slack channel, in the sports Slack channel, a thing the other day because everybody was making fun of the Broncos being bad, and the Broncos subreddit is just amazing right now because it's just a hive of misery and and like
scum and villainy.
It's a dark place. But it's also like a place of hilarious memes. And so somebody shared a thing where they were like, "This is where we are," and it's a 4-step process. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up because it's just too good. But it's basically like here it is. So 4-step cycle. Broncos lose, moves to Broncos suck, fire Elway, burn it to the ground. We need to lose next week to insert bad team. And then next step is Broncos win, which moves to Broncos are great, and we have just been hit with injuries. Locke looks great, and I can't wait for next week against good team that will beat us. And that is really that's been the last 5 games. So not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I talked about the Broncos actually won. Locke looked really good. He was 23 for 27 or something, 4 touchdowns. But that was against the really not very good, who was that even against? I didn't even watch the game. I don't even remember.
The Chargers? Bills. It was the Bills.
The Bills. No, the Bills just are the ones who just beat us senseless.
Oh, I see.
I was talking about the week before that when we actually looked good. Might have been the Dolphins or something. Nah, it wasn't the Vikings. I don't know. Anyway, neither here nor there. It wasn't a very good team that we beat really, really bad. And so then everybody was like, "Yay, we look great. Maybe we're turning things around." And then we played the Bills, who, in beating us rented mules, also secured for themselves a playoff position for the first time, and I don't even know how long. Apparently the team, when they landed back in Buffalo at 1:30 in the morning, there was a crowd of thousands there to cheer them on for actually being the first good Bills team in who knows how long.
I would say they were doing pretty well last year. Or they made the playoffs for the first time last year in however many decades.
Yeah. So they did something else good in regards to the playoffs this year as well. Maybe they got a guaranteed first round bye or something, or I don't know. Or maybe they won the division. Maybe they locked up winning the division. I don't know. I don't really care. I've been so tuned out of most football things aside from sad Broncos memes. There's too much other shit for me to worry about this year. Tend to care about football. That loss also made it a fact that it will be the Broncos' 4th losing season in a row, which everybody is a little bit out of shape about because back when our previous owner, whose name I'm drawing a blank on, but when he was he owned the team from the 60s up until 4 years ago when he died, and then it was a couple years before that he had kind of stepped down from running the team because he was rapidly declining mentally. But when he was actually functionally involved with running the team, we never once had back-to-back losing seasons. And we have now had 4 losing seasons in a row. So the fans are getting increasingly fucking pissed. But there's no hope for new ownership right now because the family is embroiled in a massive lawsuit over control of the team, and it's almost certainly going to get sold, and then the money's going to get split up. And it's just going to be
exciting.
Sad. No, there's nothing exciting about it. It's all very sad. It's all very disappointing. It's probably the end of the Broncos ever being a functional team ever again.
Hooray!
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the sports banter. I don't have a whole lot other than that. It was a easy weekend at work, and my week has been the same as all of my other weeks. I work, I come home, I play video games with Megan. I occasionally do something productive. Like we did just today before doing the podcast, finished a sleeping platform for the Subaru, so that we can winter camp in the car. So that's pretty cool. It's fancy. It's not really that fancy, but it's nice. I'm happy with it.
Neat.
We might have to redo it.
Great.
We might have made it too tall. We haven't got our mattress in yet that we ordered. We ordered like a nice blow up mattress for it, that fits in the back of the Subaru on top of it. And there's a reasonable chance that when we get the mattress in and we put it in there, and we try to sleep in there, that we might not have room to roll over. So we may have made the platform too tall. But the platform itself is awesome, and I'm really happy with the way we did it. Because, like, you can collapse it down into the back and put the back seats up so you can actually still have all 5 people, and then fold the seats down, and it, like, unfolds out of the back space to make a full platform that goes all the way up to the front seats. It's really kind of cool. I'm really happy about it. I'll post Slack pictures tomorrow, so those of you listening who are in the Slack channel will have hopefully already seen this platform that I'm talking about. But I don't know. I'm still really happy with the work I did on it. My construction job on it is awesome. We just may have made it too tall for the 4-inch mattress we're getting.
Did you maybe subconsciously like start missing those bunks in the submarine, and you're like, let's get nice and tight again?
100% no. Although that is actually, like, the height it is now, like, because we crawled in there and just laid on the base platform with no mattress, that's about the amount of space that I had in my bunks on the submarine. And that's an acceptable amount of space for me. It feels tight, but, like, I can roll around just fine, and I don't bump the ceiling. I'm not sure when we add a 4-inch air mattress if that'll still be the case. It's going to be tight. And we haven't figured out for sure the best way to get in and out of it, because, like, if you crawl, like, we want to have our heads up by the seats and our feet
running
down.
Dive.
I mean, that does seem to be one of the better ways. Like, I was trying to figure out a way to, like, get by the back passenger door, like the rear passenger there, and, like, hoist myself up and swing my feet in. Because, like, that's how you used to get into, like, if you're in the, like, middle bunk in the Navy, that's what you kind of did. But I don't think that I didn't feel like that was gonna work. There wasn't a good enough handhold to swing in like that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. If we have to redo it, I'll probably just build an all new one. Using slightly different boards. So it'll sit lower, but I'll use the exact same design, and then we'll have this one for the summer when we don't need a thick mattress. And it'll have more storage space, and then we'll build a different one that will be for the winter with more sleeping space. And that might be what we do. We'll see. But I like doing woodworking stuff. I had borrowed Paul's nail gun for a long time, and then when he moved into his new place, he had something he had to put together, and he's like, hey, I need my nail gun back. The very next day, I went and bought my own, because it was just too damn handy, and I couldn't handle not having it. So, I think that's all of my banter. I don't know, what's up with you guys?
Mandalorian season 2 finished. Real good.
So fucking good. Yes.
And a lot of spin-off shows got announced for it. So it is cool to see them expanding this.
3 spin-off shows?
3 spin-off shows, yeah. Actually, I mean, yeah, but there's, like, when Disney did their Investors Day thing, they announced, like, fucking over a dozen shows for Marvel and this, so it's a little hard to remember.
From what I was seeing earlier, it was the Rangers of the New Republic, and then 2 other ones.
Yes. Just in case people haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
So definitely go see it, though, because
it's very impactful. Not
only is it very impactful, but I don't know how long you can wait and not get it inadvertently spoiled.
It was almost being inadvertently spoiled at 7 a.m. that morning as I was looking online.
Yeah.
The people had already watched it. I was like, well, I guess I have to avoid the internet until I get home.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And there was this funny picture I saw where it was on the Mandalorian subreddit. But it was so on a lot of these TV ones, you will have when you post stuff about new episodes, it does like spoilers, so it sort of like blurs it out.
Uh-huh.
But you can see something in all of them that's very distinctive. And it's just like at the end is a picture. I was like, I wonder what this is all about.
Yeah,
knowing exactly what it's all about. So that's the shit where I'm talking about. What would be real hard to if you are active on the internet to not get that shit spoiled for you. So
yeah.
But season 2 has been a lot better than season 1. Even though I did like season 1,
as did I.
I know. Yeah, I know there
also.
are some.
I knew where the pedigree of the Mandalorian came from, and I'm like, this is just more Clone Wars.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, except live action.
Except live action. Yeah. And they really ramped it up in the second one, including the budget too. Like the first episode of the season, like was definitely started off as a
and it was
banger.
it was like a double length episode as well. I remember it was like 55 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
Which you're like, oh, this is nice, and then every episode gets shorter and shorter as it
Yeah.
goes through, and you're like, wait, no, not like this.
Like that one that was like the third to last episode was like 22 minutes or something like that.
Something
And it just boom flew by, and I was like, oh my god, it's already the end of the episode.
Yeah,
It was action packed.
I really appreciate that they take however long an episode takes.
Yeah,
Like
they don't
none
have
of
to
them
fill.
have felt like they drag or have been cut short. They feel like they're appropriate lengths.
They don't need to be
Yes.
22
I want
minutes
more.
for commercial breaks. They don't need to be 43 minutes for an hour long with commercial breaks. They can just do it.
Yes, exactly. And so now we have to wait
Year.
over a year.
Yep.
And that's even if 'cause I heard that they might work on one of the other shows before, like finish production on that one before they come back to this one.
They are, but they're supposed to still air at the same time.
Oh, okay. Well, which is like December of next year.
Yes.
So that'll be a long time, but thankfully you have, like I said, a bajillion Marvel shows and properties to get us through.
WandaVision's coming soon, right?
Yeah, WandaVision's coming soon. Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming a little bit after that.
I think that one had a lot of COVID filming problems.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I've heard too. And then I'm definitely looking forward to some of the ones they announced for that. What was it? The Loki one, seeing that was cool. The What If looked really interesting.
Those were some of my more favorite comics as well.
Yeah. Like Captain Britain, or what if T'Challa was the one that got taken? Basically, I mean, what if he became Star-Lord, more or less? A bunch of other ones that seemed pretty cool. Yeah, it's good to see them finally starting to ramp up on the original content, just in time for them to raise their price. So
yeah,
bastards.
What was it? That's $7 a month.
Yeah, it's only going up $1, but that's how it starts.
That's what Netflix just did, like this month.
Again, yeah. Luckily, my mom's the one. Like, that's sort of the nice thing about sharing services is that like she has the one that keeps getting its price raised. It's like, okay, well, don't know what to tell you.
Speaking of stupid streaming services, I was looking at what channel was going to be streaming National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is the best Christmas movie. And I discovered through some research that AMC Plus is getting the exclusive rights to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation streaming this holiday. And I was like, well, guess I'm not watching that this year.
Yeah.
Let's just add another fucking log to the Yule fire.
I'm surprised that you can't get that from like Hulu or something like that.
No. Yeah. I'm sure you could like buy it from somewhere. Like,
yeah.
But I don't want to buy it.
But then you're buying it.
Yeah.
And you've already lost.
Yeah. So that was disappointing. Streaming is going to ruin us all.
Yep.
On my end, I don't know. The new car's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like that might be an understatement considering what you upgraded from.
Yeah. I mean, it was only like it's only 4 years newer than my last car.
That's a rough 4 years though.
Yeah. And this in its current condition has only 20,000 more miles on it than when I bought my old car back in 2009.
Yeah, that's 11 years ago. So.
Yes.
Remember when you thought about driving your car to Chicago?
Then
It's a good thing you didn't do that.
Yeah, because the radiator would have blown out.
Yeah. And you know what, Jeff? As much as I'm sure you would have appreciated it, I probably couldn't have come pick you up.
Nope. I'll just tow it back to Denver for $3,500 or something.
No, you just like, all right, bye. You just start walking.
Yep. This is someone else's problem now.
Yeah. Some drives by. What's this Ohio car doing here?
Going east.
Going east.
But this one will easily pass emissions without having to spend $715 on it.
Nice. No, you can save that $715 for the first time you actually have to do maintenance on that car, though.
Yes. Yeah, besides that, beer's slow. It's winter. Not making as much. Not shipping as much. Kind of shipped out all the Christmas, New Year's beer, but even just the week before New Year's, I mean, we have 2 trucks a day just for the beginning of the year. So, at least something to do. Right now, it's just trying to look busy for most of the day.
Been there before, yeah.
Yeah.
I have definitely been there before.
Go check on something. Let me drive the forklift over there. Oh, let me go check this thing over here.
Uh-huh.
Drive the forklift. Yep.
Oh, they finally got one whole pallet of packaging done. I guess I have to put that away.
Yep.
One at a time.
That was a nice thing. When I worked at when I was going to college, I worked at a country club, and every so often we were bored. It was like, and there's nothing to do. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go see how people are doing on the course, and I was like, all right, now let's just hop in a golf cart and just drive around for a fucking hour. Look, you just double checking to make sure people aren't throwing carts into rivers because they've done that.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
I don't think there's anything else for me.
I don't think I have much else.
Nope.
Or anything else.
Is it Blood Bowl time?
It's Blood Bowl time.
I think it can be Blood Bowl time.
Yay! So I played a game of Blood Bowl in person with the new rules. I don't Blood Bowl 2020, Blood Bowl second season. I don't know what the fuck they want to call it, but the new rule set. It was a teaching game with my friend that wanted to learn how to play Blood Bowl, and I had built/made some of the new people, the new teams. So we played with the new teams. So It was also my first game ever seeing the Imperial Nobility and the new Black Orc team. As everyone remembers, Black Orcs were part of the Orc team. They were the kind of like strength 4 dudes, kind of slow, armor.
Mm-hmm.
But now Orcs don't have Black Orcs. They have Biggins, which are just Black Orcs with extra move. But now there's a whole team of Black Orcs. You can have 6 Black Orcs and Goblins. So imagine lizards with their 6 Sorai, but now they're Orcs. And instead of Skinks, they're Goblins. And instead of a Kroxigor, you have a Troll.
Sure.
And you're a lot slower.
Okay.
But the one thing that I was curious of is all the Goblins have thick skull, which on stunty players you count 7 as a KO and 9 as a badly hurt. But with thick skull on stunty, this may have been explained in previous editions, but I've literally never run into anyone that has ever taken thick skull on a stunty player before, so I'm not sure how much it came up. But they do explain it in the rules that now a thick skull stunty is still only KO'd on an 8, so or still only KO'd. I think they're only KO'd on an 8, and then badly hurt on a 9. So it's a little better, but it's not like way better. The Imperial Nobility is interesting. They're kind of a turn on Bretonnians, which they have removed from like the Age of Sigmar, so I assume they just don't want to have Bretonnians existing in any way, shape, or form, so they made it into Imperial Nobility. But they start with like a ton of skills that aren't commonly taken. So their linemen have fend, which means if they get pushed in any way, you can't follow. If you blitz, you will have to use a movement to actually follow, but on a regular block, you won't be able to follow, which helps because they're only armor 7. They have their bodyguards that come with stand firm, and then having a bunch of stand firm dudes is a real pain in the ass, especially when you're a bashy team. The blitzers have block and catch built into them, so they're also your catchers. They have throwers that come with pass and running pass. Running pass, I believe, is a new skill. It lets you move and pass and then continue moving. Before it was like you move and you pass and then that's it. That's the interaction. So now they can pass and then move, or move then pass, or move pass move, or whatever the hell they want to do. They also play with the stars that come in the box, the Orc Star, Vareg, Ghoul Chewer, and Griff Oberwald, which was neat. We didn't end up using any of their one-time use game powers. Played with I played the Black Orcs. The Black Orcs come with Brawler and Grab. Grab is useful. It lets you kind of like, it's like anti-sidestep. So sidestep, they can choose where they move, and it can be any square adjacent to them, where Grab is you get to move them any square adjacent to them. You can't like throw them behind you or anything, but having Grab is neat. Then the brand new skill Brawler, which is like poor man's block. If you roll, you can re-roll a both down result on your block dice. Where if you had block, it would knock them down, but not knock you down. Depends if you have block or not. And then wrestle, you could just decide to put them both on the ground with no armor roll. But Brawler is just a re-roll, which can be advantageous because if you're throwing a 2-die block, you get a push and a both down. You can re-roll that both down to try and get a push or a POW or a defender stumbles for free, which is nice. And what's the worst that could happen? You roll a skull or another double both down, and you just take the push. So you kind of have like a free block re-roll if you get that both down. The troll is slightly different now. It has Projectile Vomit, which trolls had back in the fantasy rules for like the Warhammer old roll, the actual tabletop. They would puke acid on things and disintegrate you. What Projectile Vomit is in Blood Bowl is a mini chainsaw. So it's you roll a 2+, and if you roll a 2+, you just get to roll armor. You can't add Mighty Blow or anything like that to it, or Claw or whatever. It just can't be modified. But if you're down strength, you roll a 2+, and boom, you're rolling armor. Downside is if you roll a 1, you puke on yourself, and you get to roll armor against yourself. Much like a chainsaw. But other than that, it was a pretty bashy game. Like, we got one of the new kickoff events, which is basically the old throw a rock, except now it's a player on a team. So you roll your fame plus, and fame's different now, but you add your fame and a D3, and then whoever rolls higher, the other team, a random player gets into a fight with the ref, and instead of like your team like getting all stunned, or let's say killing one of your players with throw rock because you just take a fucking injury, on this it's a 2+ and you are stunned, but on a 1 you get banned, like you fouled and you rolled doubles. So of course we tied. His ogre got stunned, and one of my Black Orcs got banned turn 0 on the kickoff. So I was already down a player. Then he casualtied another Black Orc. I returned the favor with a KO and another casualty. By the end of the first half, I had scored and done like 3 more casualties. He had 2 KOs, and I had like another Black Orc out. So it was like a hefty bloodfest. He was certainly holding his ground, especially as being a brand new player. But he loved it and wants to play more, so we shall see. The Blood Bowl 3 PC beta will start sooner or later, and that will be pretty much the only digital implementation of this rule set until Fumble decides to push whatever update with going off of Java to Unity whenever that's done, and all I've heard is 2021, so we'll see. And that's new Blood Bowl. There's a lot of weird typos that they have FAQ'd into rules changes that people are not having a good reaction to. Like,
I bet not.
Like being able to use as many rerolls on a turn as you want. Not just one reroll per turn anymore. You can't reroll a reroll still, but and then also like when you blitz, you have to designate the target of your blitz. And that's super annoying. Paul gave an example of if you target a blitz against something with foul appearance and you roll a 1, that means you can't even move. You're done. And that would be terrible. Yeah, so we'll see what the weeks massage some of the weird inconsistencies out of the rules, but overall it still plays a lot like Blood Bowl, and it was interesting trying these new teams that have some skills that aren't commonly used. So it felt a little different than normal.
Okay. Do you think overall, though, are you excited about the future of it, or do you think this was down?
I don't know. I'd like to play a league and see how things go, but it's really going to be trying to go through all of these weird, tiny little rules changes and seeing how they impact the game, like having to designate your blitz and being able to use more than one reroll, or a chainsaw eating its own chainsaw on a 1 but not causing a turnover, or when you roll skulls against someone that has Mighty Blow, now they can use the Mighty Blow on you, and weird, or not be able to use the Mighty Blow on you. It's weird stuff like that changes it just enough to where I have to learn a lot. It's like, oh no, that doesn't work like that anymore. Oh, that doesn't work like that anymore. So we'll see.
Do you know if Ant's gonna go full on with this with the new rules for the next league?
I have no idea.
Okay,
but that won't happen until like July, August next year, maybe in person.
Okay,
we'll see when that Blood Bowl comes out. Blood Bowl 3 or Fumble 2.0.
Indeed. Right on. Well, we can move on from some Bloody Minute. There's no Kingdom Death still.
Nope, we played Arkham Horror instead.
Yeah. Is there any plans for Kingdom Death anytime soon, or is that segment going to just be temporarily dead?
We'll see who can make it next time.
Okay.
Yep. We haven't rescheduled yet.
Okay. I mean, it is the middle of a massive pandemic, so...
Correct.
Well then I think that moves us over to news and Kickstarters.
Yes. First and only up in news, Gen Con is confirming that Gen Con is Gen Con happening. Gen Con? Gen Con is on.
Gen Con on.
Gen Con on.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of information, just a little press release that Gen Con put out, basically saying that they are hoping to proceed as normal with Gen Con 2021, that it'll be in person in Indy, and their dates are August 5th through the 8th. They're working towards that with health and safety as the top priority for 2021, which makes sense, coming back from a massive pandemic. You definitely would want those to be top priorities. They say that they still point out that there's a whole lot of things that need to come together for it to even be feasible, and they're monitoring local and national safety and travel guidelines, health data, all kinds of things like that. And considering all of that, they are not doing badge registration and event submission yet. They're basically going to wait until they don't want to just have
to refund all of them.
Basically, yeah, exactly. And so they said sometime in the next couple months they'll have more information on that, which that all makes sense. I mean, we have a vaccine that is currently being administered. That was something I meant to mention in banter. Like, Megan got her first dose of the vaccine.
One of my roommates got it today.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've actually been really surprised. Like, I didn't realize how many of my friends were like frontline nurses who would actually be able to get it. especially because like Megan was saying at her hospital, they got 950 doses, which really like it's 2 doses per dose because you got to get it twice. But they got enough for 950 people to get both doses. But there's 3,000 people at her hospital who like qualify for it. So it's kind of a first come, first serve for, roughly 30% of the hospital to get it. And she got it. And I don't know if that's just like her hospital is the only one with that ratio, or if other hospitals are about there, or I don't know. But I've been surprised how many people I've seen who are actually getting the vaccine already, which is awesome. Like, more people need to get it quickly so that things like Gen Con can happen. And so we'll see. We'll see. I feel like August is a reasonable time to expect to have that going. Like, most things I've seen expect that by like June or July, anyone who wants a vaccine can get a vaccine. So,
Right.
hopefully by that point, we'll have enough people vaccinated that we'll be able to largely go back to being able to have large gatherings of people. We'll see. If not enough people get the vaccine, though, maybe that won't happen. So, who knows? Yeah, that's it for news. Tentative 5th through 8th for Gen Con. More information to come.
I'm curious to see, like, what will be the first, I want to say live action. That's in person convention again. Like, will it be this one? Will it be something that's earlier? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll depend on how many people get the vaccine and how they can prove that people have taken the vaccine, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure how all of that's going to work. I mean, ideally at some point, like, I don't know, it'll get to a point where, like, if you don't have the vaccine, then you're just risking yourself, and I don't know. I guess I we'll see. I don't know. It'll definitely feel weird, I think, even in August of next year, going to a big, huge in-person event again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's it for news.
Yeah. So moving on to Kickstarter / crowdfunding this week.
Yes, because they're not all Kickstarter this week. First up in actual Kickstarter, we have Epic Battle Maps. Epic Battle Maps is pretty well funded, $34,000 of its $10,000 goal, 609 backers, still 3 weeks left to go, and its most popular pledge is $47.
Yeah, so I feel like we covered something very similar to this, but these people have not put out anything else, so it clearly was not related to them. But this is a spiral-bound notebook of over 24 adventure maps, like lined out 1-inch grid for RPGs like D&D. Multiple of the maps are all fold out, like 3-page worth of fold out. So you get like 11 by 8.5 by 33-inch maps, which is pretty freaking awesome. They're like a kind of a, I don't know, laminated type material, so that they're dry erase compatible, and yeah, they seem pretty cool. They got a bunch of different maps that they show, kind of all through here. They don't show all of them, but they do give a list of what they all are. They are currently at 28 of them. Or, well, no, number 28 is still locked behind a stretch goal. They have 27 unlocked. But it's things like, a harbor or a ship, an underwater cove, a dense jungle, the castle gatehouse, tavern map, ice cave, things like that. Some of them go together, like map 8 is a fine sailing ship, and then 9 is a fine sailing ship's hold. So like you can see like what's down inside the ship, things like that. They recommend getting 2 of them because a lot of the maps are kind of meant to like work together. Like if you put them side by side, like they say you can put like the 2 castle ones side by side, and they make like part of a single castle. Or like you could do the fine ship on one and the hold on the other to have them side by side as people move up and down, so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth on your maps. Different things like that, and then you can mix and match them however you want to get different effects. My only problem with this one, and I'm trying to find again where I saw it, because it talked about like what the general theme of the maps were, and it wasn't as great as here we go. Low fantasy in a summertime temperate climate. Which granted, by the time it delivers in June of 2021, maybe I won't be playing Icewind Dale, which is a frozen winter map. But I wouldn't mind personally a little bit more variety in the climate of the maps, especially because I feel like that general summertime is very common in a lot of the D&D maps I have already. So I would have liked to have seen more variety there. But I don't know. Looks pretty cool. The maps themselves, I think, are pretty awesome. Like very standard top view maps, like D&D things usually are. Prices seem pretty reasonable. $47 gets you one copy of the battle map plus all of the others as digital downloads. And then it's not quite double. $87 if you want to get dual copies along with everything in digital format as well. Since I have access to a good printer, I'd be tempted to just do the one map, and then if I wanted to pair things up, I could just print some extras off.
The real downside to this, though, is shipping cost.
Oh shit, $25. That's probably the nail in the fucking coffin. Damn.
It's $25 shipping for one book to the U.S. Friendly UK shipping of about $7.50.
Yeah, five. So so it would be, to get both of them would be £65 for the original pledge, and then another £5 shipping. Which, yeah, that's great. I wish I could get this whole thing for £70. Unfortunately for me, it's £65 for the map, and then £18 shipping.
Yeah. Seems cool, but the shipping for over 50% of the cost of the product is not great, unfortunately.
I am not used to seeing the US be like the second to last most expensive.
Like the rest of the world is only $1 more.
Yeah, like UK is £5, like 5.6. Europe is 11.9. US is 18.2, and rest of the world is 19.5. Good God. Yeah, that does probably do it in. I mean, at that point, it's almost $1 per map shipping.
Yeah.
And actually, for US dollars, it is. The base book without stretch goals is 24 maps. It's $1 a map for shipping. Maybe since I have access to a good printer, I'll just do the digital pack.
Yeah, digital pledge is only $27 for the full all maps.
Oh, shit. Even that's a bit expensive for just digital. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it for myself.
It's a cool idea if you live in the UK and don't have to pay the shipping.
Yeah. If I was in the UK, I would buy this in a heartbeat. Because they do look real nice.
Yeah.
So, right on. That's Epic Battle Maps. Go check it out.
Check it out. Next up on Game Found, we have Iss Vanguard. This is not a Kickstarter. It is found on Game Found. This one is extremely well funded. $2.2 million of its $50,000 goal. Over 15,000 backers, and still 2 weeks left to go that you can pledge this at its most popular pledge level of, I didn't write it down, but it's like $179? $179.
Yeah. I don't blame Jeff for that because the layout of Game Found is a bit different, so it's not as easy to
I wrote it before the backers instead of after the backers, so I lost it in my own notes.
You just fucked yourself up.
Yep.
Aha. So Iss Vanguard is the latest game from Awaken Realms. It is 1 to 4 players, 90-minute playtime, ages 13 and up, and it is a whole lot of stuff.
If you don't know who Awakened Realms is, they did Nemesis and This War of Mine, right?
Along with like Tainted Grail, Lords of Helios, or Lords of Hellas. Yeah, lots of stuff. Aetherfields.
Some
which
quality
I don't know
game
much about that one.
that they have made so far.
Yeah. So they are, this one is like their next big thing, where they're combining a bunch of stuff, trying to, bring a lot of like AR type things into it. So it is a co-op board game experience. Each player controls a different asymmetric section of the main ship, the Vanguard. Gameplay is divided into landing on planets, and discovering their secrets. And then on the other side of the gameplay is like managing the ship in between missions, where you do like recruiting crew members, researching material, producing equipment, all kinds of stuff like that. The game is kind of like bonkers. It seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. So you have your ship. The ISS Vanguard itself is basically a 3-ring binder. With a bunch of dividers and card sleeve like pages that divide it up into its various sections, and then you put different cards in the different parts of the card sleeves to kind of explain the story of what's going on. So the individual cards like will tell you, like, they serve to be like a manual, like telling you how to play and the rules for the different sections. It functions as a game save mechanism, as you put cards into different spots to kind of like represent where you currently are. And then the in-between mission, like ship action stuff, all takes place like in that binder as you move cards around and place them in different spots. Like there's things like the one they mainly show here is like the med station, which like serves as, covering like people who've died and their story that you can still somehow kind of learn from, as well as like giving you the ability to heal people who've been hurt and wounded. But there's 3, 6, 7 different sections of the ship in that ship book. Medbay Memorial Wall is one. There's like bridge, situation room, manufacturing complex, lab, hangar, and barracks. So like barracks is where you let people rest, train them, or assign them work.
Sounds a lot like XCOM.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like XCOM, the board game, a little bit.
XCOM, the exploration board game.
Yeah.
Space exploration.
Situation room is where you solve situations and react to crises. Bridge is where you like basically pick your missions, like you're flying to different planets, and it's where you also upgrade your ship. Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff. The asymmetric like sections, so you control a different section of the ship. So like one player will be engineering, recon, security, and science division. So like those are like the 4 different main sections of the ship. Each comes with their own ridiculously detailed minis. Dual layer cardboard tray that has like a bunch of different spots for dice that you put in, and there's like a whole big weird dice mechanic with a ton of unique dice. And then you have starting equipment cards, unlockable equipment cards, rank 1 cards, unlockable ranks 2 and 3 cards, and then sleeves that you use to kind of advance characters and things with. And so you're the head of your division, which is like you're basically second to the captain, but equally second to the captain with the other 3 section leaders. I don't know.
Sounds like Forgotten Waters.
Yeah.
I want to be the gunner.
In addition to the ship book, you get a Planetopedia, which is a 44+ page book that basically folds out and becomes the planet that you're exploring for your actual mission. And this is where like the real, air quotes, real gameplay happens. The missions that you go on, they are a combination of partially scripted, partially randomly generated story that happens across these planets, along with a bunch of pretty awesome art for like what's going on the planet. There's not really a good example for me to zoom in on and talk about like all the different things it shows, but it clearly has a bunch of different spots for different cards and where
there
things
is
go.
a print and play components examples, like Dropbox that they have that might have those on there.
Yeah, you know my aversion to opening other links to research these things.
No rule book.
No. They've got a story intro and then the print and play examples.
But Paul Grogan will be assisting them with writing the rule book, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they say. The print and play do not have any world examples. They've got a bunch of stuff from like the ship book and like the lander pages and some stuff like that, but nothing from the planets.
Gotcha.
So.
And I'm not too surprised at that, mainly because I know at least from the Tainted Grail, there was a lot of changes from like what was shown on, during the actual campaign for how like the combat and stuff worked. There was a lot of iterations on it, and it seems like it changed. I don't know if I'd say significantly, but a good amount, we'll say.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised, and it's like that's similar with the Cool Mini, some of the Cool Mini or Not ones, where it'll be like, oh, this is our idea, but we're still playtesting it, and then as it evolves more and more,
So like basically kind of a rough overview of the game. Like you play through the ship phase, where like you determine what system and planet you visit next, what techs you're going to work on, what research you're going to work on, what landing craft. There's 4 to choose from. You want to build or modify, what alien culture you want to study, and then which crew members are going on the next landing. Then you go on to the landing phase. So for that, you choose the lander, and the missions being the core of the game, they're like 1 to 2 hour sessions. And you start by deciding how much energy and time you're going to devote to scanning the planet in advance, which will uncover hazards and conditions on the surface. Then you use the lander board to choose like where you put the characters. Like there's like a pilot, a co-pilot, navigator, and crew spots. And so who you put in what spots can affect things. Then you choose like what level of load you want to take: light load, standard load, heavy load, that will have effects on how the ship flies and handles. And then you land, and then you explore the planet using all of these ridiculous custom dice, where you can do different tests and you can roll as many of the dice as you want, but you only get a refresh 3 per turn. So the more you roll, the fewer you'll have for future rolls. Then there's like mechanisms where you can get rid of a die to refresh extra. So you just slowly reduce your permanent pool. Characters have unique die that go with them specifically, and there's specific abilities. All kinds of things like that. You move through the different parts of the planet, using your limited amount of supplies to which will tell you how long you have to explore the planet and figure things out. Basically you can keep pushing even if you run out of supplies and your dice are starting to get low, but then that's where like more and more negative statuses can come into play, and like your people can die. So you can actually lose characters and things, and they'll go sit in that med bay / memorial hall. And there's all different kinds of things to encounter going through here. Like they show throughout some of the stretch goals and things, like different minis for different factions and things of enemies, like aliens and humanoids and all different kinds of stuff that you might encounter. So seems kind of bonkers.
Yeah, it's feels like it's going to be another crushing BGG fan favorite.
Yeah.
They even list all of their other like BGG rankings on here. They list how your game will be packed to ship when it does arrive to you August of next year for the first wave.
And I would definitely suggest, if you're interested in this, if you're going to get anything besides the base game, get 2-wave shipping, like pay the extra because fucking hell.
Yeah, the final shipping isn't until
April 2022.
single wave shipping April. Yeah, so over a year.
Zach, how's your Tainted Grail shipping going?
Oh, it should be next month. They should be shipping it.
Hooray!
Also try not to have a pandemic, like when things are getting prepared. So that's what I would suggest.
How's
Really?
everyone else's copies of Tainted Grail they got like last year?
Exactly. Ryan is the only one I know of in the world, obviously. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why the ranking's so high. It's just the one.
Yeah, it's just the one, and they're like, but we trust this guy. Yeah. I'm curious to see how it looks like with some of this stuff that it might be more like this War of Mine in the sense of you may, like, even though you're playing, you can play with up to 4 people. It's really like the same as playing with as one person.
Just alternating actions instead of
Yeah.
having impact.
Yeah, and it's just everybody is sort of cooperating together to affect the game, but it doesn't feel like you have a, your unique stamp on it, and so.
Yeah, I mean it looks like it'll be that sort of forgotten waters, where you're sort of selecting areas to go on these various worlds, and then sort of reading from the book that's telling you what's happening in that location, and then you sort of move on. But
yeah,
lots of dice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Custom dice.
And these minis,
I really like how they look, especially the the robot guys with the shields.
yeah, but of course these are all
$80.
3D. These are all 3D representations, and the details probably not going to look that good.
Probably, but I mean, these guys seem to do a good job.
Yeah,
of
all the
translating
Nemesis
it well.
stuff looked good, but even the Nemesis stuff probably didn't look this good.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
There's some insane levels of detail on these minis. It would be bonkers if it actually came out that good.
Even just depending how big the minis are, what details they can get on there. But
but fucking $80 to get.
I think they said it was like 35 scale.
35 millimeter.
Yeah.
That seems.
Yeah, 35 millimeter.
Yeah, that's probably the same they used for Nemesis.
Yeah, lots of crazy stuff happening here.
Yeah, the close encounters is what gives you the minis from standees. And that's pretty much the other pledge, right? It's just adding on the minis.
Yeah, that's what they did for Tainted Grail too. That it was here's the game, and then here's the game with minis.
Yeah, seems like it's a cool game.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet looking. I don't know.
Is.
I'm intrigued.
But once again, do I need this? Do I have a friend that is going to get this?
I don't
know.
They did give me a $5 credit, so maybe I just I'll just spend $175.
Oh, thanks. I hate it.
Oh.
It seems
no,
pretty much.
I just bought $100 plus rum, so I don't need to do this anytime soon.
I keep trying to spend $1,000 on a video card, and they won't let me.
Nope.
Now I have to spend $180 on a board game.
Yeah. So that wraps up crowdfunding / Kickstarter.
Yes.
All right. Moving over to listener feedback. Wow, was this a week of feedback? Like everybody's on holiday vacation or something and decided to just get in touch with us. So we'll start over in Jeff's favorite portion of listener feedback, emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com if you would like to send us angry emails like these people did.
Now, I just want to preface this with one thing, is that maybe people are thinking, oh, Zach's lazy and doesn't want to do stuff, or maybe it's I'm trying to promote listener feedback by having us fail, and then they talk to us, and it's just all, it's all planned, possibly, is all I'm just think about it.
I don't think any of this feedback has to do with anything you did, though, Zach.
Well, then that's how you know I did it well.
No, there you go.
Like we don't even know he exists at all.
Exactly.
All right. First up.
Some thoughts on Terraforming Mars from Jeremy, and not his terrible email. Jeremy here, to clarify now that Jeff has called me Jer for sure. How many emails will it take for my email to be recognized, or am I forever to be punished for a decision teenage Jeremy made? Like all
Adrian
of us.
is. Yeah, Adrian still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still punished for mentioning once that teenage Adrian bought a Nickelback CD.
People haven't seen your Xbox fucking username either.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I was referring to. I forgot about Nickelback, but you brought it back in my mind. Thank you.
Oh, the fucking explicit content.
Yeah, Adrian, how you remind me.
I gotta need some water from
Max
the vomit I
Leap
just
speak.
threw up in my mouth.
Anyway, the email.
I have an unpopular opinion on Terraforming Mars I wanted to be belittled for. Drafting is overrated. It adds a significant amount of time and mitigates very little luck. TLDR, drafting your hands of 4 adds 35 to 60 minutes to a game, in no way prevents your opponent from getting the card they want, and mitigates at most 5% of the luck of what you draw. He goes on to explain this. First, the time. Let's assume it takes 5 minutes to do the draft each round. A game of Terraforming Mars is 8 to 13 generations. First generation you don't draft, so that means 7 to 12 drafts. That's adding 35 to 60 minutes to a game of Terraforming Mars. Now the card luck. And I'll break this down by the arguments my friends / colleagues / frenemies have given. A, you can hate draft away, just like the right card for your opponent, henceforth known as Adrian, needs. To hate draft that card away from Adrian, you need to have it in your initial hand of 4, or have it passed to you, which means if you weren't drafting, Adrian wouldn't have seen the card anyways. In fact, drafting could force you to take a card you have no intention of using just to screw over Adrian, which I've done many times. B, you see more cards so you can better build your strategy / engine. This is where some luck is definitely mitigated, but not as much as you'd think. At 2 players, you'll see 7 unique cards. At 3 players, you'll see 9. The final card was 1 from your initial 4. At 4+ players, you'll see 10, but you'll only be picking 3 of them from the 9. The final card will be a blind card you have to accept into your hand. Without drafting at all player counts, you'll see 4 unique cards. You have a 1 in 443 chance of drawing the card you need, so each extra card you draw gives you about a 1% chance of the card. Seeing 5 more cards each round increases your chances about 5%.
And speaking to the final card that he was talking about for the draft, the final card is almost always going to be garbage too, because it's one that every other person has passed.
A lot of times it's the one that you immediately gave up.
Yes.
And it came back around.
Yeah, so I'm not going to belittle him nearly as much as I think was probably expected.
Or deserved.
I don't know, because I have actually played a few times without drafting recently, teaching new players, and it's been fine. I still will probably draft most times I play, but I agree. I don't think, especially now with things like Prelude and some other things that can kind of give you some bonuses and some direction, that synergize with your first 10 cards that aren't drafted. I think drafting is less important now than it was when the game was brand new. To take away a couple of their arguments, the hate drafting thing, I agree. Hate drafting is a solution to a problem that didn't exist until you drafted. But it's also very satisfying. It is very, very satisfying to be like, oh, I know this person wants this card. Like, the whole reason you draft is you're looking for the best cards. I know they want this card. I'm going to make sure that they don't get this card. And it's very satisfying.
Well, and then you also get into that position where you're like, well, this card's real good for me, but this card is real good for Adrian. And
which even the pleasure of hate drafting aside, it does add another layer of strategic planning and decision making. That balance of, is it worth it for me to take a card I want at the expense of letting a card that I know will be useful to my opponent go by, or do I sacrifice my card to deny them? And so if you're looking to add strategic depth to the game, I think drafting does that. And then for the luck thing, the percentages there, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that they're garbage because they're based around the idea that you need one specific card, which that's not the case. Like, the idea is that it gives you more options to get better cards, not the best cards. Because there have been times drafting, I have almost never had a card where there wasn't a single card I could use when I draft. You know, getting to see 9 cards, it's pretty unlikely that in 9 cards you won't find one good card. Whereas I have definitely had card draws, not drafting, where all 4 were garbage and did not work for me at all. And then it feels like a wasted turn. And conversely, sometimes you get 4 great cards, but they're also expensive, that then you try to focus on all 4 of those good cards and you blow all your money and then you're useless and then it hurt you because you don't have good impulse control. That might be a very me situation, but that has also happened. So I think there are better advantages than what this email would make it out for drafting. But I also can agree that my thoughts on drafting being 100% mandatory have definitely shifted because of the way the game of Terraforming Mars has evolved with the expansions.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think it's one of those things of there are positives to it, but a little bit of that like placebo thing that like maybe it's only 5 or 6% better, but it's because you're the ones choosing it. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you're more in control. Whereas for people that don't feel they're in control, they can easily blame the randomness of the cards.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, that's another really good part of it, is that kind of the feeling of control can be worth more than just the 5% extra in luck mitigation that is technically there. So I think that those are all some good points. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. The 35 to 60 minutes, that tracks. I feel like it adds at least that much.
I think it depends on who you're playing with, because there's definitely times when it'll only take like a minute or so for the draft on a lot of turns, because especially near the end, like the last couple generations, a lot of those cards are going to be like, oh, well, this takes a max of 5% oxygen, so this is garbage, right? And it just in the same for the beginning of, unless it's something you really want to work for. If you really want to hold on to birds the entire fucking game, you may not hold on to the card that requires 13% oxygen or whatever.
Right.
So I feel that because of the the requirement system that this game has, it's not always each draft is not going to take the full 5 minutes, but I would say a little bit overblown of an estimate, but I can understand it.
Yeah, I think that general range, though, that it comes out to, that 35 to 60, I feel like that's about appropriate for a range of how much time it adds. Like, my drafting games of Terraforming Mars take longer. Like, and I feel like it's roughly that 30 to an hour longer. Mm-hmm. It might not come out to 5 minutes each round. Mm-hmm. Some rounds might be 6, some rounds might be 4 or 2 or whatever. But
yeah,
I also don't feel like, I don't think I've had a Terraforming Mars game go to 13 generations in a long time. Yeah. I feel like mine are always ending more around like that 10 to 11 range.
Except for that one game where we ended it at 8, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll occasionally end stupid fast. It's always amazing sometimes when it's like, wow, oxygen's done and it's like Gen 4. What the fuck happened? No, definitely some good thoughts. But he did want to be belittled. Jeff, do you want to belittle him a little?
No.
You don't want to talk about Jer at all?
I'd rather belittle Adrian more.
Well, that's coming.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Next email.
Next email comes from the Mike Jones. Or the Michael Jones. I've got a lot of things to say to you people. And the first of them is hello, and I hope you are all doing well. Or at least okay. Speaking only for myself, this has been by far the worst year of my life, and I hope that remains the case for a long time. I look forward to celebrating the new year soon, though I kinda hope everyone just puts it off for a few weeks to celebrate the start of 2021 on January 21st with me. No reason whatsoever. Is that it?
Yeah. Because that was his birthday.
It's probably
That's what
birthday.
I was thinking.
Yeah. Not worst year for me, but certainly top 5.
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing all right.
New job, new car, whatever.
You know what? Same here. Yep.
I see. My Forerunner died this year, and my job has taken a severe downturn. So,
Hooray!
Hooray.
2019 was pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, email can continue.
Now, thoughts on your last show. 1. Codenames Duet is the most thoughtful and best version of the game. The idea of having a total of 5 assassins, 3 for me, 3 for you, and 1 of which is shared, is absolutely genius. This is especially true because, as y'all said, one of the ones I see as an assassin is an agent for you, forcing me to make a 1 in 3 bet that might lose us the game at some point. It's so good. It's so good. 2. Jeff, I have attached a video of the games you have recently been playing while bringing your stuff back from Chicago. It is narrated by my friend and coworker, known to the world of YouTube as Ice Warm. Don't be a dick. He's awesome. Watch American Truck Simulator Colorado Episode 1 on YouTube. Yes, American Truck Simulator did release a DLC. It has Colorado in it. It even has I-70. It also has I-70 by the Pet Food Factory, and the Pet Food Factory is there.
And now, if only you could smell in games. Then
If only you could
truly
smell-
experience it.
Smell
No one ever needs to smell that Pet Food Factory.
Smell
The
cheese.
best part about not working over there anymore is not driving by that fucking factory twice a day for fucking, I don't know how many days a year.
Guess who gets to drive past that twice a day?
Every time I forget, like if I have
Uh-huh.
the heater on in my window and I forget to turn it to circulating,
Uh-huh.
it's immediately obvious to me. You just drive and you're like, oh, god damn it.
Sometimes it doesn't even work. Because it's that bad. But like the new car has like an auto, and every time I hit the auto in the morning, it doesn't have the auto circulate. And whenever I pass it in the morning, I'm just like, fuck. I forgot to turn it on again.
Yeah, it's a garbage fucking place. It is guaranteed I will never buy Purina ever again.
Yeah.
Fucking good God.
It was mostly nighttime when I went through the Colorado driving simulator, however. But yeah. 3. Nah, I ain't back in Vindication. Shit looks stupid. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Hi, May, Ofer, and Colorado people. Bye, May, Ofer, and Colorado people. Happy holidays, and don't get sick. Hugs and kisses. MJ.
Woo.
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 Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Vindication feedback, so...
All good. All good feedback.
Next email.
This next email is from Wes. MHGG. Vindication. Tom Vassell quite likes Vindication. And I don't mean Kickstarter preview, what a unique game. I mean, it shows up on his top 100 of 2018, top 20 of 2019, and he brings it up while talking about other games. Has a couple dozen plays of it. Blue Peg, Pink Peg, raved Vindication. All hosts rated 5 out of 6. Do they do 5 out of 6 on their show?
They do 6, yeah.
Okay.
Is their scale.
With each docking a point because they felt the game would be too heavy for some people. I think it runs at like a 3.06 on BGG. Details of the game. On your turn, you do 3 things. Activate your character or companion/pet. Move, activate a location. You can do these in any order. Interesting mechanism. Endgame triggers are variable, but some being revealed as the game progresses. 4. Adrian. You indicated the rulebook description of movement was bad. You can move a number of spaces equal to your speed. Players start with 2 speed. 2021, the year we transitioned from Nickelback to basic numeracy.
That's not the problem of the movement description that I had an issue with. which we'll come back to.
The choices presented by the Chronicles expansion are in Update 7 of the campaign. It's essentially a narrative layer added on top of the existing mechanics. When in the base game, you would gain a card. Chronicles injects a story relating to how that happened. The consequences of choices are unknown to you when you make them, because another player draws a chronicle and reads aloud for what you encountered in that part of your journey. That said, players are intended to feel freedom to make compelling narrative choices instead of min-maxing, so the events impact the general board state, changing it for all players more than they do individuals making the choice. Hope you are all well. I appreciate you. Best, Wes.
And just for clarification, this was other Wes.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of Wes's in the Mile High Game Guys fandom.
Yes.
Fandom and friendom.
Friendom.
So that's the last email.
Yes.
I promise I'm coming back, Wes. I know we're not like super diving into this. We're gonna come right back to Vindication because Mike Jones mentioned it at the end of his. Your whole email was it, and the first of the YouTube comments is all Vindication as well, and so we will address all of the Vindication things after the first of the YouTube feedbacks, which is starting right now. So Tim commented on episode 212, pick it up. What the fuck is wrong with you? Well, WTF is wrong with you people? If you present a Kickstarter in your podcast, at least do some minimum research so that people understand why you actually don't like something. Constantly mumbling about, I have no fucking clue how this works, or I'm too dumb to even understand the rulebook, is a total waste of time for everyone. It's just extremely lazy, and if you don't have to say anything good about something, why mention it at all? So, here is Adrian's 3-part explanation for the Vindication segment on last week's episode. So first, I will start with a partial apology. I worked 2 15-hour shifts last weekend because our night shift guy called in both nights, and so I had to stay late and cover both nights. And so even though that was Saturday and Sunday, by the time we got to Monday's recording, I was just so fucking drained. I was really I so badly did not want to even do the fucking podcast last week. I'll be honest. I wanted to just fucking cancel it and move the fuck on. I was like, Zach, we got that shit episode that you scrapped because of the audio issues. Just edit it and put that out because I don't want to record this fucking week. That's what I wanted to do. But we didn't. We pushed through and we put out an episode. And the Vindication segment is definitely where that showed the most because I was just too tired to give 2 shits about that game. So that's part 1. Is that I was very tired, and so I didn't even care about the game. Part 2, to follow up to Tim's comment more specifically about why we do the Kickstarters the way we do. So, this is, for anybody who's listened for a long time, you've probably caught on, but I don't know if we've ever, super spelled out how we do Kickstarters. So, we get together about an hour-ish before we start recording. Sometime before then, so say we start recording at 7 p.m. We'll get together at 6 p.m. So over the course of the day leading up to 6 p.m., Jeff and Zach usually spend some time finding news and Kickstarter items that look interesting. We don't dive deep into them. We don't try to learn them really. We don't spend a lot of time on them. We look at a bunch that might be interesting. It might be 3 news and 4 Kickstarters some week. Some weeks it might be 1 news and 1 Kickstarter. It really just varies based on what interesting things are easy to find. When we get together an hour before we record, we kind of go through them. I look at what they've posted. I scroll through the news items, see what looks interesting, cull ones that we don't think will make for good conversation or whatever. Kickstarters are similar. We're looking for ones that either one of the 3 of us is really excited about. That's a guaranteed thing we'll cover. Kickstarters that are extraordinarily, just monstrously, stupidly bad. Occasionally make it in just because those are fun to talk about. And then there's ones like Vindication. Vindication looked interesting. Just a quick scroll through the Kickstarter. It had some good art. It was laid out well. It looked professional. It had great reviews from people as Wes mentioned in his email, Tom Vassell. It had really good reviews from Rado. from a lot of people.
A very good BGG ranking.
Yeah, so it looked interesting. The whole idea behind our Kickstarter segment, the idea that has kind of evolved over time and that I try to go for, is they're very much a first reaction. Like this is our gut reaction to a Kickstarter. So either it's one that one of us has heard about and is excited about, and it's our first reaction to the Kickstarter launch. Even we do that even with our sponsors, with Gray Fox, when they do Kickstarters. We don't look at their Kickstarters until the day we talk about them. So you get a very authentic, like, what is our gut reaction to the Kickstarter? Like, we're not diving into the Kickstarter until we're on air. Sometimes that will lead to some mumbling and bumbling of like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Because that's our gut reaction to looking through the Kickstarter. And sometimes you can find the answer. And yes, if we spent a bunch of time prepping, we could put it together nicer. But that's not my goal. That's not what I want that segment to be.
Nice isn't what we do.
It's also not what we do. We don't do prep. So yeah.
And I'll say one thing too is that normally if we had 3 Kickstarters that day, if I was listening through it, a lot of times I'll just be like, Adrian's just talking to himself, and then that's it, or like there's nothing too interesting, or it's just Adrian mumbling a lot, or us mumbling, or whatever reason. I'll cut them sometimes, but
yeah,
especially when it's just the single one, it would be harder for me to get it without to cut it without having to cut more stuff, and maybe try and find a previous thing where you say there's no Kickstarters or something like that. So yeah. What was that, Jeff? I didn't hear you.
The magic of editing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes like when there are a lot of news or Kickstarter that interest us, some get cut out in editing versus pre-show. Sometimes, like this week and last week, there's not. Like the holiday season is notoriously thin for news and Kickstarter, so like you get what you get kind of a thing. And so like Zach said, it's hard to cut out when there's only one Kickstarter. It's hard to cut it out and make the episode still flow.
And also that episode, I probably could have spent more time cutting out some of those things, but we had an audio issue that we finally figured out the problem was, but it was causing. Yeah, it was causing Adrian's audio to lag behind ours, and so I was having to spend time fixing that instead of the content of the show.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So to jump kind of back to what Wes said. So Wes criticized so I think I talked about the you can do the 3 things and do them in any order. And in that regard it does seem pretty straightforward and pretty basic. Interesting, I did miss that end game triggers are variable. That is kind of a cool thing. For the rule book description of movement is bad. It wasn't that part of it that I didn't like. So part of my frustration with this game, and that I still think is kind of fucking stupid, is the way that they did the layout of the board. So it's hex grids. Hex grids. But the hex pieces aren't aligned to each other. They're offset, so there's weird triangles between them. And you move through the triangles. And in my very tired state looking at their graphic, it says move. You must move 1 space each turn. Move on the triangles between the hex tiles. Reference page 9. And then move a number of spaces on the map up to your speed. That part that Wes quoted. I made it through the first 2 lines of that, and it was immediately like, this seems way more fucking complicated than it needed to be for a fucking hex grid. It should just be, the things should be aligned adjacent to each other, and you just move along them. I get that as I read a step further on the rules, that the reason they do that is because the visit a region or rest, choose 1 adjacent hex to perform its action, or do not visit a region and instead augment a power. So they want you to have the option to like go to one of the 3 regions or just stay in the middle and rest. Looking at this page though, if you pull up their rulebook, page 8, the little like left side that explains the 3 actions, activate, move, and visit a region or rest, would have made an excellent section to just paste somewhere in that fucking Kickstarter. So this is where, coming back to the 3-part thing, my 3-part explanation. Here's the other part of this for Tim also. Why I don't like something. I feel like people might have an idea, some people who are regular listeners. One of my biggest fucking pet peeves is when board games don't explain in the Kickstarter how the game plays. Like, I don't want to have to click over to a Dropbox and then jump through 3 folders to get to the English version of your rules and then scroll through your rules to figure out how the game works. I want a quick, succinct text overview of what I'm doing in your game and why. Like, I don't feel like that's asking too much. I know maybe it is. Maybe a game like Vindication has so much other edge cases. I mean, the fucking
and
rules
this
there
is
of the
a
3 things.
expansion Kickstarter and not a base game Kickstarter.
And also true. Also true. But enough of it was focused, I feel like, on Vindication itself. And normally this is another thing where if in a normal Kickstarter world, if it's an expansion Kickstarter and none of us have familiarity with the base game, we don't cover it. We were just, there wasn't a lot, and I had never even seen anything for Vindication. So it's what there was. It still frustrates me. Like, I feel like they could explain better in the Kickstarter.
And their, like, Chronicles expansion details was stuck in an update.
In the 7th update.
Yeah. Which probably should have been on the page.
Yeah. And going back again kind of to Wes's email, like, as he talks about the consequences of the choices are unknown. Reading through that update, it doesn't sound like the consequences are unknown. Like, you get a no because there aren't really any consequences. Like, you choose just how you want to resolve. And they even talk about that in the update, that's a feature and not a bug, that there's no actual consequence to your actions. In that they want you to develop your character however you want without worrying about what's better or worse outcomes. So the only difference really for most of these is which section of your board you get to check off, whether it's your strength or your knowledge track or whatever other, like, 6 attributes you use. And as you move up those attribute tracks, you can unlock different things. So you get a legendary card if you become really well known for using knowledge a bunch, which is doing the knowledge choice 3 times on those Chronicles. It still feels, I feel like my initial criticism, as I remember it from last week, was that it feels like the choices are meaningless in a broad choice, and that I think that holds up even reading through that. They talk about that some of them, like, they give an example of one of those cards where before you even choose your option, it says you place 2 Dark Agent tokens on the inn. And then they mention how those Dark Agent tokens will have future issues, but they don't affect your card. Your decisions don't result in an instant luck-based gain or loss. They change the game state moving forward, is their wording on it. Because those agents may interact with future events or chronicle cards in a way that impacts strategies and decisions down the line. Which, some of that appeals to me. I mean, this is supposed to be more of a Euro game. Like, I like the idea of that you don't get fucked based on a bad draw. And it's something that can affect everyone. But also, like, the whole idea of this is that it's supposed to add these, like, deep choices or whatever. And it doesn't feel like that. I don't know. Being a big fan of D&D, like, narrative stuff is important. I do appreciate narrative stuff. And there's a lot of times in D&D that, like, I tell people that I DM for, like, reskin whatever you want. As long as it works the same mechanically, I don't care what you call it or how you do it. So I'm being a little hypocritical here, I guess, because here the cards mechanically do the same thing and you're just reskinning what your choice was. But for some reason it rubbed me the wrong way on this one. I don't know. That's basically, I think, everything I wanted to cover. Oh, no, the last bit of Tim's line. If you don't have anything good about something, why mention it at all? Because I think it's important for people to know just as much of the things we like as the things we don't like. And I think it's important to occasionally be critical of things. even if it's not necessarily well thought out criticism, it's exhausted Adrian criticism that's mumbling about like, oh, this doesn't make any fucking sense to me. What the fuck?
In no way, shape,
yeah.
or form similar to what he's doing right now.
Hey, I feel like I've been much more clear-minded in enunciating why I feel the things I do this time rather than last time, where it was a lot of like,
Well, I want to try Vindication, but I don't know if I want to pay the amount of money that it takes to play Vindication.
Right.
I would certainly try it, but I am not at all interested in backing it.
Let's say $229. Not in for that.
Fuck no. Aside from the fact that is just way too much to spend on almost anything.
I mean, the base game is $89, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it seems like it has some interesting things there. On Wes's email, like Tom Vassal's like repeated, praise is not necessarily a selling point for me.
I don't think any of us listen to anything Dice Tower related.
Not anymore, but that's more for me. That's more just to like, I barely listen to fucking podcasts or anything. I don't have time for it anymore. I used to listen to his stuff, and it was good to know, but it didn't, like, my taste didn't exactly line up with his. But yeah.
My tastes distinctly do not line up with either Tom Vassal or much of Blue Peg Pink Peg.
I've never listened to them, so I don't know.
I remember trying to get into them back when we started the podcast, because when we started, I wanted to listen to basically everyone so I could get ideas of what I liked in a podcast and what I didn't and how I wanted to do ours. And they were one of the podcasts that I started where it was like, I made it like 3 episodes and I was just like, nope, not going to listen to these ones. So I don't know, maybe some of them I actually do have tastes that align with them. I haven't listened to them enough to know what their tastes are. So for anybody who is super upset about our coverage of Vindication, here's Wes with a very thorough email about some positives for it. Tim coming in on YouTube with the I don't know if I think Tim was a subscriber. YouTube makes it hard to tell. I think Tim is actually a subscriber, so he's probably listened to some other things before. Maybe he's listening to this now. That was a very appropriate response to us.
Yes.
I could see other people being upset if they got a response like that. And me, I just laughed. I was like, yeah, that's you're
right.
Not wrong.
Yeah,
you're not wrong, Tim. What the fuck is wrong with you people? A lot, Tim. A lot.
I just looked at it and I was like, well, I wanted to cut it, but I could.
So that concludes the Vindication portion of listener feedback. We have one more YouTube comment that we're going to move on over to. And this is coming from Emily. And this is on an old episode. This is from Mile High Game Guys Halloween Dread Part 2. So this was the second episode of our first ever Dread session.
Yeah.
Which we did I think we played the whole thing in one session,
Correct.
but we split it into 2 episodes.
Yes.
Correct. We did it it was way back when, well, not just that too, but it was way back when we were doing 2 episodes in one week. The mind reels at that now.
Oh, I know. Good God.
But yeah, we split it up into 2 parts for a Wednesday and a Friday.
Yeah. So Emily comments, I loved listening to this. Y'all are so funny. It's so hard to find Dread content to listen to, and this was really awesome. Thank you guys for the content. I have loved all of the Dread things we've done. As much as it has been so incredibly frustrating for me to run them, they are just so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them will ever live up to that first Dread though, with the Quinn safe zone.
Yeah.
that was the Halloween one, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And how Zach fell down some stairs and stuck his Wolverine knives.
Yeah, with my Wolverine knives, yeah.
Right into his own throat.
And Adrian made the correct response and not immediately kill me, to let me just quip from near death.
If you didn't take the knives out, you're probably fine.
It's true.
Oh God, yeah, that was a blast. I absolutely loved it. Easily one of the first things we'll have to do when we can get back in the studio safely together will be another Dread.
Oh yeah,
I'll have to come up with another ridiculous one.
Not even because we can't do Jenga remotely, but just having everybody in there trying to undermine you at every turn and to just see that in your face, like that's what makes it worth it.
Oh yeah, because we looked like, because I think there is a tabletop simulator version of Jenga.
Oh, yeah, I remember trying it, and I was like, oh, this is horrible.
A lot more people would die in TTS Dread.
We'd need like Lamentations of the Flame Princess with like
Oh, God.
backup characters when our main characters would die.
Oh,
You
man.
could bring back Manservant.
Good old manservant.
I think that wraps up all of the listener feedback that I saw. 3 emails, 2 YouTube comments. So good stuff all around.
Hey, and it's an episode that isn't an hour and 15 minutes or shorter, so
It sure isn't.
If you want to participate in listener feedback like all of the awesome people who sent us things, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I'm Jeff_MHGG.
We have our Instagram account at MHGameGuys, our Facebook account at MHGameGuys, our website, milehighgameguys.com, as well as punchboardmedia.com, where we also post up all of our episodes. And in those episode descriptions, you can find links to things like our Slack channel, our Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, and our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. The Slack channel is an excellent way to just generally hang out and chit-chat with us and a bunch of other completely awesome people. You can find games to play. That's where some of the original Among Us games were organized. There's a lot of board games that still get organized over there online and digitally. And then there's just all kinds of other awesome trash talk. A lot of it centered around Paul. Paul gives and receives a solid amount of shit talk on the Slack channel. And then Twitch, we're currently really only streaming the Mile High Dungeon Delvers every other Tuesday, which is a D&D 5th edition live stream. Leander, a friend of ours here in Denver, is the DM. And then some other people that you might know from the show, like Wes and Bob. I don't think Allison or Clue have been on the show. But all of them are
a live play of some sort.
Yeah.
They were on one of the dreads.
Yeah. So, bunch of awesome people though. Campaign's a whole bunch of fun. We're going to be doing an episode tomorrow. So the 2 days before you listen to this. So you can jump over to Twitch and catch the rerun. It's going to be a very narrative heavy interlude type episode as we go through a bunch of time skips and do role play. So we had a big fight 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. I had to fight my master, like my monk guy, my monk master, and then I had to fight my mom / not kill my mom and save her from the weird creature that was controlling her. It was intense, but yeah, that's all the different ways to get a hold of us and follow us and see our content. So be sure to do all of that. And then, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for continuing to support the show. Their latest Kickstarter campaign trail, the Green Party expansion, is available for pre-orders on their website, grayfoxgames.com. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement for us?
Absolutely. Gray Fox Games, quality crafted. Also, are you smoking a cigarette? Cigarettes are poison. They kill people. Didn't you hear what Dr. Naomi said? He that cuts off 20 years of life cuts off so many years of fearing death. Is that why you smoke, Snake? Are you afraid of life?
That one caught me off guard. That was funny. Nice. That wraps everything up. So yeah, an over 2 hour episode, at least for recording. We'll see what editing gets it down to, but slowly getting back to being the most content.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for listening. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm a little bit Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.